Hi, everybody. We are Screen Heroes. Welcome to episode 49. 49 episodes. I am Derek, one of your three regular weekly hosts, and I have my other two hosts, Ryan.
Hello.
And Ray.
Hi.
And we are really excited to be here tonight.
Definitely.
We're almost to 50 episodes.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
We're so old, guys.
Speak for yourself.
It's really, really exciting to almost hit 50 episodes. The three of us have worked on other podcasts together, but this is the first one that's going to hit 50, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, together we've done, 80 episodes of different podcasts together, so.
Yeah, about 85 or so in total, which is pretty cool, too. But we are doing something really special for number 50. So for next week's episode, December 6th,
we are going to host the first ever Screen Heroes Awards with TV categories, movie categories, all with the winners chosen by you on our social media pages. These winners will be your picks, of course, the things and people and movies that you enjoyed the most this year, but you also get to win stuff too. So if you've been participating, there's a chance that you're going home with a fun little prize. Now, we're not rolling in the dough, so you're not walking away with an Oscar trophy, but you'll get a cool knick-knack. We promise that.
I do know we've got some movie posters.
We have movie posters, exclusive ones that we've gotten from premieres. So not just things that I've had in my basement for...
So there might be a few of those.
Yeah.
But they'll be cool ones. They're not just like... Well, like, for example, I think it would be lame if we tried to give away my Spider-Man 3 poster because it's a cool poster and a terrible movie.
Yeah.
But some people might like that.
That's true. If you like the Spider-Man 3 poster, let us know. Maybe we can work something out. So we have, 17 categories?
17 categories. We have some old guests coming back on to help us present the categories. We have a few little things in the middle of the show that little surprises for everybody. Nothing intense.
Including me and Derek.
Ryan and I are now nervous. This is Ray's baby, so Ryan and I are along for the ride.
No, they've been big helps with this. You have. I
mean, we're going to help you host it.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know,
that's what I do
till the
best.
bitter end.
That's right. We all go down on the sinking ship if it sinks.
But what's exciting about this is we are also doing it live like we always do this show. So on Tuesday, December 6th at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Join us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/heroespodcasts. So you can chat with us live. We'll have somebody running the Twitch stream, so we can have fun comments about if somebody won and you liked it, didn't like it, whatever. You can talk to us. So we want you to join us live. This is meant to be something that you watch live with us, but it will be available later if you can't make it.
Oh, of course.
Anything else? Do you want to mention any of the categories for people who don't know?
I went with some fun stuff. We have favorite hero, villain, sidekick, all that kind of, I don't know why my pen squeaked like that, I'm sorry. Movie for, sci-fi, horror, fantasy, all the things that we really enjoy. And then TV counterparts too. So we've got quite a few categories. The show will be about an hour and a half instead of the normal hour.
I didn't agree to that.
Well, I mean, we have
I don't know if I can stay up that late.
Look, it's an award show. Award shows always go long.
It's a school night.
We have to do the playoff music so people can
need a lot of
get
that
off the stage and things like that. But no, it'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I have, in my head, I have all the winners. But there's some cool categories. There's some stuff I didn't get a chance to see.
Yeah.
So for example, under favorite horror film, we've got our nominees are 10 Cloverfield Lane, Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, The Purge Election Year, and then Witch, but it looks like it's spelled with two V's.
It is spelled with two V's.
Is it still Witch?
Yeah.
Or is it Vitch?
It's not Vitch.
Okay.
It's still Witch.
Okay. I'm just curious,
Oh.
I didn't see that one, so.
Yeah. No, I didn't see any of those, unfortunately. So 10 Cloverfield Lane looks the coolest to me based on previews, so that would be where my vote goes. But
fair enough. I mean, I'm not really a fan of the Purge franchise personally, so I'm a little biased there. But...
Well, some categories like absolutely swept and got shared by a ton of people. So we had 50, 60 votes coming in for one category.
Yeah.
And then others, like the horror film one, got split up by about 6 people. So you just got to go with it.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
Either way, we're excited. It's a week away, so please join us for our big 50th episode.
So this podcast is basically the Iron Man 2 of our podcast. It's necessary to get to the Avengers. But other than that, it's not really. Is that what we're doing tonight? I mean, I didn't think that was what we were doing.
No, we're gonna review Moana.
Oh, okay.
We are
That's
totally
good.
reviewing.
Let's talk about Moana.
I just want to make sure we weren't Iron Man 2.
Before we start that, though, there's something very important.
Here we go.
People need to know.
Oh yeah, we're doing a surprise pop-up episode on Thursday.
I don't know if it's a pop-up episode.
No, it's a
Pop-up.
pop-up.
It's going to pop up in your
We're
browser.
going to be in the same number of
pop-up
dimensions.
video from VH1.
Pop-up video.
He did it. I was going to do it, and I thought, I'm going to keep it.
No, I don't have that filter.
He's
That's the
got
problem.
that. He's got this.
So this week, for those who don't know, the CW is doing their massive DC crossover. They call it a 4-part crossover. For those who haven't seen Supergirl yet, I'm going to go ahead and say that
It's like a
that's
3.1 part
stretch.
crossover.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that later at another time. Anyway, that's all this week. So Monday was Supergirl. Tonight, as we're recording, Flash just aired. Wednesday is Arrow, and then Thursday is DC's Legends of Tomorrow. So on Thursday, directly after Legends of Tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central, we will be going live right here on twitch.tv/heroespodcasts to do a special episode recapping and reviewing and discussing the CW DC crossover.
Yes.
So it's a special episode. We do a special one kind of every season. We did one last season as well. And so this is our big special for season 2. So please join us. I'm excited about it. Are you guys pumped?
Of course.
I'm pumped, yeah.
I love the CW
I mean,
shows.
I was more pumped before I saw Supergirl last night, but...
That's fair.
I'm at least pumped about our podcast because if the crossover sucks, we can talk about it for an hour.
That's true. We can totally do that. We can
And I love skewering things.
That's
so.
right. That's right. So, all right. So that's Thursday. Please join us on Thursday. It's a big deal. I'm excited about it.
Moana!
Time for Moana. Disney's Moana.
Moana.
Yay.
It's a fun word.
It is. It's a fun name.
It is.
It's not just a word. It's a name.
No, it is a Polynesian gender-neutral name.
And it is our title character's name.
Yes.
So Disney's Moana came out over Thanksgiving weekend.
Yes.
We've got, of course, our customary financials. If we can, hit those real quick.
Have at it.
Okay.
Mr. Finance.
It always sounds better coming from you because you sound like a numbers guy.
I am a numbers guy.
Exactly.
I love numbers. So its budget was $150 million, which is, for those who kind of follow along with our podcast, that's actually $15 million less than Suicide Squad for an animated feature. So, important there. 103-minute runtime, so decent length, not too short, not too long. It is a kid's movie.
Yes.
After all. So opening weekend, if you include the standard Friday, Saturday, Sunday numbers, it brought in $56.6 million, which was enough to be number 1 at the box office. It knocked Fantastic Beasts off of its 1-week pedestal run. But that still brought in $45 million, which is really nothing to complain about either. Kind of a quiet weekend as far as, movies coming out. It was up against Allied, Bad Santa 2, and Rules Don't Apply, which I had never heard of, but I looked it up and it actually has a massive cast. There's a ton of people in that movie. Alec Baldwin's in it. Martin Sheen is in it. Drawing a blank on some of the other names, but there's a lot of people that are...
Massive cast.
Massive.
Well, I didn't really
When
dive
I think
in...
massive, I think Alec Baldwin.
He's killing it right now on SNL. So
Yeah,
because we know SNL is the
where
peak
careers
of...
go to flourish.
Sure. Well, anyway, I didn't really dive too deep into it because it only made a little over $1.5 million in its opening weekend.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, the only thing it was really up against was Fantastic Beasts.
Right, which it did beat, not necessarily handedly, but it beat.
Both Moana and Fantastic Beasts are going to pretty much rule the box office until Rogue One comes out.
Yeah, probably. That's very, very likely.
They're both aimed at families, and that makes things so much easier for people around the holidays. So not only are these two films very good, which I'm also not used to around November, November and January are usually the
Dead
crap
zone.
movie months,
Yeah.
But they're rewatchable films. I would pay theater prices to go see both of these again.
No, I think that's definitely fair. Do you think that these numbers, if you look, it made completely total since its release because it was a Wednesday release because of Thanksgiving. With international numbers, it made 101.5 million, 101.6 million almost. Do you think that that's deserving of Moana for its opening weekend? How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, I think it's deserving. I think I'm actually surprised it made that much, but I mean, it's gonna make its budget back handedly. I mean,
Oh, sure, yeah,
so,
in its first 2 weeks.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I mean, I thought it would do more. I'm surprised. I was based on the quality of the movie. I don't think it deserved that personally as much as it made,
But before you saw it,
Right.
you thought it would make more.
I thought it would make more because it's a Disney movie opening in Thanksgiving weekend. So.
With, very little competition.
Exactly. No competition virtually, yeah.
Disney movies haven't historically done outstandingly well their first weeks. And I'm just talking about within the last 6-7 years during the what they're referring to as the new Disney Renaissance or the revival age. But they make their money back in merchandising, in soundtracks, as well as DVD and Blu-rays. So Disney's in it for the long haul. This is a successful movie for them. It was a really good movie to sit and watch. So the replay value, like I said earlier, is going to be good and really going to help in the spring when it gets released on Blu-ray.
Do you think this will have the kind of run that Zootopia had? Because Zootopia stayed pretty strong for a long time.
I think it could, but Rogue One is another Disney picture that they're going to shift their focus from.
Sure. But, I mean, so was Captain America.
Like, I think, honestly, Disney hasn't really pushed a ton of marketing for either Moana or Rogue One. So the fact that they're both going to do so well anyway is pretty impressive.
Yeah, speaking of Rogue One, so we normally try to see these kind of big movies opening night, and we don't even get to do that. We have to see it on Friday because I was an hour late getting us tickets.
Yeah.
And all the good show times were already sold out.
But that's fine because we don't have our podcast till Tuesday.
That's true.
Yeah.
I just thought I was surprised.
Yeah.
Because, like you were saying, I don't think Disney has really pushed Rogue One anywhere
That's
near.
like a first for us. We always go see those big movies on Thursday, so it's pretty weird that we're going to see it on Friday instead.
Yeah, I gotta I mean, what are the spoilers gonna be?
I almost
they get the Death Star
Yeah,
plans.
exactly.
Well, if we didn't enjoy going as big groups more, if that wasn't like the most important thing to us.
On Tuesday night. Yeah.
Well, I would have chosen to take off Friday morning and gone to see it if I needed to, or seeing the 3-4 o'clock showing on Thursday at the one weird theater who gets to do that.
Oh yeah.
There's always one in town that gets to show it a few hours early for some reason. I don't know why, but they do.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So anyway, back to Moana. So
yes.
How do you guys want to dive into this one? We've got, some information here if we want to talk about any of that, but we don't have to.
We can just bring it up as we go along.
Okay. So what would you like to focus on?
I'm not entirely sure. I was taken aback by how beautiful everything was, to be honest. And Disney has, in the past, glossed over some cultural aspects of different films here and there, but I believe at least since Mulan, they've tried their best to get things as accurate as possible to the landscape in which they're showing their film, and I really felt like I was in a Polynesian village for the film. I thought they had like every little aspect down, the color scheme and everything. And
from a visual perspective, I thought that the ocean stuff probably looked the best
as
far as quality goes, especially early on in the film when she's still the toddler and she's going after the shells and the water's moving away so she can keep going farther out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just thought that was really well done from a technical perspective. Just the graphics were amazing.
They use the same kind of graphics that they did in Frozen to manipulate the snow, and at that time, it had never been done before. They created a tool to do so, and they called it the Matterhorn, and they used the exact same thing to create the splash effects.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Disney's innovators.
It does show that they're progressively getting more and more realistic with their special effects as time goes on. The characters still look straight up like Pixar characters, but the environments are looking better.
Yeah, if I had a complaint about the visuals, it's that the characters are so clean looking, and I don't expect it to be photorealistic, but it's just like completely like one skin tone, and just there's nothing differentiating characters other than
but the hair
pigment.
Is always insane. Like it has been since Tangled, where every single strand is animated and there are different colors mixed in there, and on males and females they don't.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they've gotten so good at at all these non-human things?
I think Tangled forced them to get good with hair. The story's about Rapunzel, and the hair is a character itself. Even back in the Grimm's fairy tale. So they had to get good at hair, and now I just feel like they're great at hair, so that's what they do.
But more than that, when we talk about the way the sand looked or the water looked or the those types of things, do you think there's a reason that they focus more on environmental?
Well, I think that the uncanny valley affects certain, when you're looking at something and you're going, okay, this is believable, this is not believable, whatever, it affects. I pick up on it like environment stuff. They can go almost photorealistic with environmental stuff and be okay. And in the water and things like that looked really realistic.
Really good, yeah.
And the hair, like she said, looks really realistic. And they just think it gives a good contrast between the animation style that they're going for and like a more realistic. It's just a style that they're moving towards, I think, with Frozen and maybe Tangled. It's been a while since I've seen that. They're going to have certain aspects of the movie that are more realistic and certain that are less, and I think they focus on specific points. I don't know that it's necessarily they're better at those. I think that's part of the style that they're going for.
Yeah,
personally,
because I think it is pretty clear that when you see a human, it's from a Pixar movie.
Yeah,
right. There's very little question that character belongs in a different.
Disney has a style. They've always had a style. You can take the '90s films from both Disney and Don Bluth and some of the other production companies, put all their heroes and heroines up against each other, and after a while you can pick out which ones are Disney. I mean, it's required to have that style. Animators have to go in drawing their characters as this predetermined style. So Disney just has a look to it, and Pixar developed a separate look to it, and now they've blended it.
So that was going to lead into my next question. Do you think, because Moana is a Disney animation film,
it is,
do you think that the line between those movies and the Pixar movies has blurred too much? That basically it's hard to tell the difference?
I mean, I feel like as they get deeper into the computer graphic animation rather than the hand-drawn animation that they don't do anymore, it's definitely, and Pixar's gotten more popular, there's definitely been a little bit of merge. Like, you can tell they look very, in a lot of cases, in specific characters, they look very similar.
In 2010, when they gave up the hand drawing, they did take a book or a page out of Pixar's book, but that was because Pixar was much more successful at the time.
Sure.
And they were coming off of a very, just hitting a high note again. Princess and the Frog was a turning point, and since then they have not looked back at hand drawing. And before that, there was this huge slump. There were some little gems in there, but Home on the Range and Chicken Little and
I don't remember Home on the Range.
Mars Needs Moms did so poorly that they rebranded it under Touchstone. It was that bad. So they didn't even keep it in the Disney canon. it's a huge acknowledgement that they were able to say, well, our company that we just bought is doing much better. We should adapt. We should do something else. And they noticed that DreamWorks was doing it with Madagascar at the time.
Yeah, they have a very distinct style.
They do. They really do. Their animators work on the exact same stuff. And there's a lot of DreamWorks animators who used to be on Disney. So, you know, everybody works with everybody and everybody keeps to their own style now.
I definitely felt that of everybody in the movie, Maui was the most Pixar-looking character for me.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
You know, if you told me one of these characters was really from a Pixar movie, which one was it? I would say it was Maui.
Sure. I don't, honestly, I'm a casual fan of
fair
animated movies.
enough,
I'm a filthy casual. So for me, like, there's not really a line to cross. Like, it makes me feel more comfortable going into a movie and kind of knowing that I'm going to see this style, whether it's Pixar or Disney or whatever. Mm-hmm. I probably couldn't even pick out, I mean, I could, but if I wasn't on a movie podcast, I wouldn't be able to pick. Yeah, exactly. Be able to pick out characters. So it's fine. I mean, he looked great. I thought, whether he was Disney or you know.
I don't mean it that it's necessarily bad one way or the other. I just thought it was kind of interesting.
It didn't stand out as different either to me. But I'm a filthy casual compared to you guys. So
no, I honestly I've gotten to the point where a movie like Moana looked and felt like a Pixar movie. It felt less like a Disney movie.
Is that a negative for you?
No, for me it's a positive because I absolutely love Pixar. I'm a huge Pixar fan. And so, you know, I've just kind of, I feel like, to Ray's point, that maybe they've just decided to follow Pixar's lead on some things.
And Pixar, if the Cars 3 trailer is any indication, that looks incredibly different from any other Pixar film. So
yeah, we were watching that. We were like, are they going for like photorealism now? What's happening?
Are they?
No, it's, I don't know what to think of that. We'll have to talk about that another time.
I'm talking visual only, just visual. From a visual perspective, those special effects, that animation looked really good.
I hear Christopher Nolan's directing it.
Yeah.
So they went for the gritty reboot.
You have to have that noise at least 3 times in the trailer.
I'm not sure it makes sense for Pixar to make a gritty Cars movie.
Well, they're trying to hook adults.
Yeah. But I mean,
and just when you least expect it, Mater shows up.
I don't really think you need to hook adults for a Pixar movie, though. We've been going to Pixar
here's
movies.
the thing.
I think you do need to hook adults.
Out of all the adults, every adult says that Cars and Cars 2 are the worst Pixar films.
I haven't seen any of the Cars movies, but I'm intrigued.
They are.
I'm intrigued by this one, having never seen another Cars movie, and not really being a fan, specifically a fan of Pixar in general. I like some of their movies.
Well, I mean, they didn't have me on board with the casting when they released that the 2 main characters were played by Larry the Cable Guy and Owen Wilson. I was like,
I like Owen Wilson, so I didn't have a problem with him.
Said no one ever.
I like him.
He's all right. He has his moments.
I don't have anything against Owen Wilson. Come on.
He's so hot right now.
Moana.
So going back to Moana. So, all right. So we talk a little bit, Ray, you were mentioning kind of about how, Disney had a big... They used to have this really big focus on hand-drawn animated stuff.
Oh, of course. They were the kings of it.
But if you look at the directors and the writers, they aside from Jared Bush, who helped write Zootopia, the other guys are all really hardcore hand-drawn animation veterans. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that was on purpose?
I think that some of the hand-drawn stuff is much better stories. I think that some of the newer computer animated ones have... I don't want to say they're better. They're more interesting movies for sure. I feel like the morals of the newer ones kind of punch you in the face. They're not so subtle and the overt discussion of racism in Zootopia and the huge feeling of loss in Big Hero 6 and the true love can come from any source in Frozen. It was much more in your face than the than Snow White and, Sleeping Beauty ever had, or heck, even
see,
Little Mermaid. And
I feel like the more recent movies, and maybe this is because of the way Pixar handles their movies, is that the bad guy, so to speak, is more hidden in the movies today, right? When you watch the original Aladdin and you don't think Jafar is the bad guy, in the first 10 minutes of the movie,
yeah,
I can't really help you, right? But you look at a movie like Toy Story 3, and the bad guy doesn't really reveal himself until much later in the film. And then the same kind of goes for Moana. Who is the bad guy in Moana?
absolutely no one. There is not a villain. There are obstacles. It was an Odyssey story where she has to overcome quite a few things and get back home to do so.
Yeah.
It wasn't a...
But we're supposed to believe that...
David versus Goliath. It was an Odyssey. She was Odysseus.
What was the name of the fire creature?
Taka.
We're supposed to believe that Taka is the bad guy, right?
No, we're supposed to believe Maui is the bad guy.
At the beginning. Yeah. And then you find out, well, he didn't really mean to be a bad guy. He thought he was doing something good, right? And then
Which we can all relate
Taka
to.
is supposed to be the bad guy, and you find out Taka's not really the bad guy either. I feel like that's much more in line with what these movies have done in the 21st century.
You're right.
Well, it's what a lot of Disney movies have done. I mean, I think in this century, I think you're right on that. Yeah, I mean, I kind of liked that. It was a nice change for me from a lot of the movies that I normally watch, where it's very clear-cut villain. I was fully on board that Maui was the bad guy from the beginning. I was like, okay. I mean, I hadn't really seen previews or anything for this movie. It was only something I went to see because we were reviewing it. I'm not a big Disney fan in general, so it was all a surprise to me. I didn't have any preconceived notions of anything going in. So
mine only came from the poster, which made it look like Moana and Maui were buddies, and so it seemed weird in the beginning of the movie when you're supposed to think he's the bad guy. That caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I like when movies can catch me off guard. I don't want to be able to guess the end of the movie.
I enjoy being able to be comforted, I guess, by a fairy tale. And there are certain stories that they've done within the last 5-6 years where they lead you up to it and you think you know where it's going to end, and then they divert into something that does not make any sense whatsoever. I.e. Frozen, in my opinion. I still have a huge issue with the third act of that film. And we can talk about that another day, or you can...
Right. Let it go.
If I walk off this podcast, are we still friends? Like...
We're still friends, but I mean, it's going to be a very quiet podcast. I'll tell you that much.
Like, you didn't...
I had to. It was there.
Did you?
I did.
Did
I
you
had
to? Gosh.
Chat will let us know in a minute, I'm sure,
wow.
when they catch up since they're delayed. But
anyway... So, Moana was almost like that for me. I almost was a little bothered by the way it diverted at the end. However, it didn't. It still had this great, wonderful fairy tale ending to a certain degree. My overall issues with Disney has been they're thinking in franchises and marketing and merchandise instead of stories. They used to think in stories, and now they're thinking in product sales. And that...
Much like Star Wars prequels, right?
Return of the Jedi, even.
Yeah, that's true. I'll go with that.
Bunch of little Ewok teddy bear
It wasn't Disney then. It wasn't Disney for the prequels either, but yeah.
So, but that makes a lot of sense why Disney would want a company like that, though.
So, to me, Moana felt like that it's on a good track back to that. Back to the story comes first, because the story of Moana herself is not the most interesting in there. You could easily do a CG Hercules movie with just Maui and see all of his adventures, and it really would be just like Hercules was. However, Moana is probably one of the least interesting characters in there, yet she was chosen by the ocean, so they're going to follow her. And
Right.
I thought that was incredible.
Well, I think that was a purposeful choice, to kind of inspire the young women and men that may think that they're not important or anything, that they could have a chance to be chosen by the ocean someday and sail on an adventure with the Rock.
Well, I mean, for me at least, from a personal perspective, a lot of us are brought up with very specific things you're supposed to do, right? You graduate from high school and there's a list of things you're supposed to do, whatever that list is that your parents brought you up with. And I felt like she was kind of that symbol of, you don't have to do that. There might be a plan, but you can make a different plan.
Right.
I like that personally, since I've had those types of plans laid in front of me and wanted to do other things.
Yeah.
So I think that is a good lesson to teach kids.
Moana was very reminiscent of Pocahontas and Mulan to me. She had her own ideals and her own wishes, but she also really respected her family, and she never wanted anything to come to them, and she never wanted to hurt them. So she had to sit there and choose what was right for her, and does it correlate to what her family thinks is right. So I thought it was a very strong story from her perspective, and I thought it was brave picking the female lead for this, because honestly it easily could have been Maui's movie.
Yeah.
The Rock can hold a film, and
I'm sure.
He's, between his acting talent and his singing talent, he is a Disney character waiting to happen.
So, okay, Ryan, I gotta ask you, did you know he could sing? Because I had no clue that he could sing.
Yeah, I back in high school had somewhat of an obsession with The Rock as a wrestling character, and so I read his biography, whatever it was. I read that at the time, so yeah, I had a pretty good idea that he could sing.
Okay, so when he belts out the first time that he's singing in the movie, I actually just made the assumption that it was somebody else.
That just sounded like him?
Well, because, they've done that in Disney movies in the past.
Yeah, but he has a very unique voice. That would have been difficult.
He does, but it just didn't calculate in my head, because I knew him as the wrestler, as the guy from the Fast and the Furious movies. He's the tough guy. He's the big guy, and I love him, but it never occurred to me that he could also sing like that. So that really just caught me off guard.
He's a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
For sure.
Legitimately, yeah. It's pretty crazy.
In the late 90s, he hosted Saturday Night Live, and he did a performance on there. Now, they usually don't let the host sing, but he sang. And
that's cool.
He did an Elvis song, and it was really well
Elvis.
done.
He loves Elvis.
I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah.
So it's Mother Uckas in chat is saying that the bigger surprise for her was Jermaine.
Right, which I didn't know he was going to be voicing anything in the movie.
Didn't either.
And when it happened, I was like, that sounds kind of familiar, but I can't quite put my finger on it. And then there was like one syllable in one of the songs that sounded like the Bowie song from Flight of the Conchords. I was like, yep, that's Jermaine.
As soon as the song started, I'm like, well, this is a Flight of the Conchords song. That's exactly what that sounded like to me. Having him in the movie was really a lot of fun for me.
As Tamatoa, yeah, he was great. I knew he was cast. I saw the cast list a while ago, and I had no idea what he was going to do. But at that point, I didn't know if there was music in the movie or not.
Right.
They've done a few where a few of the CG movies have had music, a few of them have not. Big Hero 6, no. Frozen, yes. So I didn't know which way they were going to go, but as soon as they cast him, I was like, oh no, this even bigger mystery.
There's definitely singing.
Well, because
if Brett had been in it too, then it would make more sense to me,
hilarious.
Because he's actually an Oscar-winning songwriter from the Muppet movies, or the newest Muppet movie, I think, right? And so, I mean, that would have made more sense to me. Jermaine has a super unique voice, though.
He
so,
does.
I mean, that makes sense, too. But I would have loved to have a little bit of each.
Some other
That
creature somewhere.
So
yeah, it would have been great. Or have that be like a duo scene where there's some other creature that they work together or something. Yeah, that would have been great.
Even more surprising, they hired Lin-Manuel Miranda, who just received incredible notoriety for Hamilton. But, animated films take 4 or 5 years to get off the ground. So they approached him years ago.
Right.
Before Hamilton struck it really big. Now, he's been working on Hamilton for about 16 years. So it's his baby, and it's definitely been going on longer. But, I mean, it's just gotten popular within the last 2. So he got tapped for Moana way before.
Yeah, I mean, it's some pretty good forethought on Disney's part. And I think the same goes for the lead. I mean, this is the first thing she's ever done. Mm-hmm. And this is, she gets to be the lead in a Disney film.
There's a lot of that going around. Yeah. Like, Suicide Squad had the woman that's never acted in any movie before as Katana. There's a lot of people, it seems like brand new actors and actresses that are given chances in big blockbuster movies.
Mowgli in the new Jungle Book, this was his first as well. Yeah. And, she, I guess she was only brought into the fold 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Which
Moana had already been developed as a character too, so the fact that she really looks like her as well as can act and sing at such a young age is incredible. And the look-alike thing is very coincidental.
Yeah. No, I think that's fantastic. I thought she was really great. Mm-hmm. What did you guys think about any of the other casting? I mean, it's kind of a small cast when you kind of get to the end of it, because it's really just her and The Rock for most of the film.
So, like I said about seeing the cast list early, when I see Alan Tudyk on a list, I get excited. I think, man, this guy did awesome as King Candy and Turbo in Wreck-It Ralph. Like, so good. And then he's the rooster that doesn't ever talk, and I get so disappointed,
I mean, he's also credited as, like, I think villager number 3.
Yeah.
I think. So maybe he said a lion.
Maybe.
I don't know which one was number 3.
Yeah.
But he was in it.
It was fine. The rest of the I mean, it was.
They're good.
They're fine,
they fit their characters. They didn't have any voices that stood out. I mean, maybe that's an issue with Jermaine, because I know too much about Flight of the Conchords now that voice does stick out. He's not Tamatoa, he's Jermaine.
I mean, that was a problem.
For a kid that's going to go see this
nobody
movie,
cares.
They're just going to think he has a cool voice and the turtle sounds neat. So
that's probably true.
He was a giant crab.
Or crab, whatever he was. I was thinking of turtle from A Never-Ending Story. Whatever he was. No, but it's all the same.
That whole scene was just really cool, between the blacklight effects and then the jewels that he had encrusted on himself.
Yeah. Which makes a lot of sense, because the decorator crab is an actual creature that just picks things up and sticks it on its shell, and that's how it lives. So it was neat. Mm-hmm. The animation on that part was really cool, because I think gold and like shiny things are really hard to animate well and not make it look super fake. So
I agree.
It was done pretty well, I thought.
I absolutely agree.
Absolutely.
Character design was really cool all around. I was reading a few articles prepping for this, and they had some Polynesian fashion designers help them with character design. And Moana was originally a very bold bunch of colors, and they were like, look, nobody on our island or any island would ever dress like that. Those colors just aren't natural. And so they muted down the palette, which is not like Disney at all. I mean, Pocahontas is probably their most muted colored princess, and she still has the bright turquoise that East Coast Native American tribe would never have access to, because that's only found in the Southwest. But whatever.
Well,
Sorry.
I think that they had the opportunity to provide the Disney-esque colors in the ocean, and in the surroundings. So the ocean creatures.
And with Taka and Tafiti.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Tafiti, like, that was really cool.
That was beautiful.
Right? I mean, that was very vibrant. That was incredibly bright.
I think that Hills and I should do a Taka and Tafiti cosplay, because she would play a volcanic babe like no other tomorrow.
Okay. Well, there you go.
She'd sit there and be like, how can I body paint and set myself on fire? And
that sounds dangerous.
I can help her with that.
Yeah, she'd figure it out.
Not body paint, but the fire.
She'd figure it out.
I'll keep a first aid kit nearby.
No need.
If it works, you won't need it, because there won't be anything left to save. But it'll be for cool pictures for like 5 minutes.
Through that hills, Ryan's gonna kill you.
Oh, that's sad.
Accidentally.
Anyway. Moving on. Yeah, so let's talk a bit about the story itself. Were there any parts or aspects to the story that you didn't like? We've been pretty positive so far.
I mean, if we want me to get negative, like, I mean, again, I'm
Yeah,
going to say
I
I don't
have my
really like
criticisms.
Disney movies all that much for the most part. There's some that stand out to me. I really like Beauty and the Beast, and there's a few others that I like, but for the most part, I just avoid them unless it's something that looks really interesting to me. I mean, it was really boring for me for the first like 25 minutes until Maui showed up, and then it got better. And I'm kind of a self-proclaimed rock, fan, Dwayne Johnson fan. If you listen to this podcast, you definitely know that. So when he showed up, it got a lot better for me. I thought the whole lead up to him was, okay. It was whatever, but it was not, not very exciting and seemed kind of stretched out to me personally. And then I thought he was a really interesting character. The whole moving tattoo concept was really cool. And the fact that he gets tattoos when he does something notable or like heroic, I thought that was a really cool concept. But again, I mean, he was a highlight for me, and the crab was a highlight for me, but the story, other than like the ending, I thought the ending was interesting, but the whole ocean chooses you, and what, I don't know, it just wasn't that compelling to me overall. The only compelling parts, it was definitely not Moana. It was The Rock, his character. If, like Rachel was talking about, if they made a whole movie about Maui, I would go see it tomorrow. Like, I don't even, like I said, like Disney movies that much, but I would go see that because he was a really interesting character.
Sure.
He was somebody that, we can all relate with doing something because you're trying to do the right thing and having it be the wrong thing. We can all relate to that.
Or everybody sees it as the wrong thing. Or...
Yeah. But you really did it trying to be right and be correct and do what you need to do.
Right.
But I thought that was infinitely more compelling than you can be the chosen one just by existing. Personally,
one of my favorite aspects was the grandma, because it's a tough life to be known as the crazy person. Mm-hmm. And in reality, she knew the truth, but nobody believed the truth anymore because it sounded silly. And so she just accepted being the crazy person. It's one thing to know stuff and try to convince other people your whole life. And it's another thing to just flat out accept that that's your role in life, is to be the crazy person. And I'm hoping one day I have that kind of clarity, that, it's okay to be the crazy one in this group.
Yeah, she was all right too. Yeah. I didn't mind her as much, but it still wasn't enough to make that first part of the movie move any quicker for me.
It's Mother Uckos love the grandma too.
Yeah, she's great.
But I think I do have to agree that it took a little bit for the movie to get going, because there's no way you're watching that movie and you're like, well, she's not going to go out to the ocean. That's just not going to happen.
Like, they kept playing that up, and it's like, okay, guys, come on. We get the story. Like, your dad doesn't want you to do this, but you want to do it. It's a Disney thing. Like, they do that all the time.
So I was just kind of waiting for she's out in the ocean, and I think the movie got exponentially better after that.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't like was the weird creatures they had to fight that had like the 3-part boat.
Yeah, the
coconut creatures.
There was a lot of characters that were thrown, and scenes that were thrown in, just like, a little bit of the cash grab thing. Like, let's just make this character. Maybe he'll catch on like Minions, or, the rooster was one for me. Those coconut monsters was another one.
I didn't mind the rooster because the princess always has some weird animal sidekick. And
Maui calls him out on it.
I did like that. It was self-referential and kind of meta, and Maui was like constantly, if you start singing, I'm gonna vomit. I love that. Yeah, I related.
That was really good. But the coconut creatures, I just didn't get what they were supposed to be. Like, that
whole scene could have been cut out.
They're kid-friendly pirates, I guess, is what they were supposed to be.
That's the whole point of an Odyssey, is to have multiple obstacles, and
it just felt unnecessary, though.
You want this whole trip to be... It can't be easy on the characters, or they don't grow. Neither one of them do. And, they have to go through a few things to bond together. So
sure,
it was a necessary evil to push the story. could they have come up with something way better like Tamatoa? Yeah, totally, because he was also a necessary evil. You also had to have a middle
He made sense to the
obstacle.
story.
He was a giant, like, you know what he is. He was a giant
And he was
crab.
in the realm of the monsters,
Right.
and
Yeah.
he had the magical fish hook. And
But what were these things? They were like gerbils inside of coconuts
They
that
were
had a
something
giant
made to sell
boat.
toys. Like,
you know?
if
Yeah.
you look at it, like, when you look at the scene,
that's
she's
gonna be
like
a
screaming
fun-
out like, "This thing, come get this thing!" And those guys just were supposed to hear that. Was there like a god that told them that it was there? Like, how did they even know that she had that?
It would've-
Surely they didn't hear that across the ocean.
No.
You know,
It
it
would've
just wasn't
been-
explained.
better if it had been a speaking character, if it had been different kinds of pirates of some kind, but they honestly couldn't really afford any more characters than that. It
No,
would have gotten silly. So
I think you could have had generic pirates.
It would have been better with just an explanation as to how they even knew that the gem was valuable, or that she had it. Like, this is a canoe on the ocean. What's to think that they have anything that's worth taking?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It just didn't make any sense in the context of the movie for me.
Yeah, so It's Mother Uckers wants to know what the coconut guys look like. Thought they were ridiculous but endearing.
Well, the characters themselves were fine. It was just the context of the movie for me. They didn't add anything to the movie.
And apparently those are Subway toys that you can get. I didn't
Big
know-
surprise.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't know that Subway did toys, but
Like,
I guess
it's-
all, you know.
it may be ridiculous now, but think of how cool that's going to be in Lego form.
No, I just don't get it, I think, is my problem. Like, the rest of the movie existed on our Earth, you know, and there was some exaggeration to it because it is an odyssey, right? But, you know...
Well, it's a magical Earth as well. It's not
Well,
just
yeah.
like our...
But these things just seemed a little bit thrown in. Like, okay, we have to have another obstacle for him. What are we going to do? And someone was like, well, let's just have, like, pirates. I'm like, nah, that's not cool. We need something else. And someone was like, little coconut guys. And they're all, okay, let's do that. Like, that's a weird conversation, I feel. But that's the...
I'm not going to disagree with you.
If that's my
like-
biggest complaint about the movie, I guess, you know.
I completely agree with that too. I wanted it to end a little bit differently. I liked the whole her as a voyager and her as a wayfarer, but I wanted her to become a demigod, and I wanted there to be a romance between Maui and Moana.
He's like really old, and she's like 8.
She is not 8.
Oh, she's
She's
like-
17.
I thought that I
No,
read
she
somewhere
is
she was-
17,
He
and
kept
still-
joking about how old she was.
That
He's
is
also
not-
like a demigod
Right.
that's been around. He says
Right.
something about when she was still an embryo, he was wrestling the sun from the sky or something like that in his song.
Like, I
weird.
thought there was really good chemistry there. Now, yeah, the actors, it was weird. The Rock's in his 40s, and
And she's 14 at the
Ali
I
time.
saw it as
is-
more like a mentor relationship than a romantic one, personally.
maybe that is
Yeah.
how it should have been. I mean, lately I've been watching Arrow, and Quentin and Thea have been coming off.
Oh my god!
Very
What's with you?
romantic.
Like,
See, it's
So-
creeping me out because I'm not
it's
getting
weird.
any of those vibes.
There's not any of those vibes. I don't know where she's pulling that from.
I love...
I don't ship that one. That one's gross as hell to
That
me.
one's-
Like,
But I'm
A
not
little
even
weird.
seeing any of that.
I told Derek that if Quentin and Thea kiss, I'm out. Like,
That's not gonna happen. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know, maybe it's the fact that Ali is 14 when this was all recorded,
she was, yeah.
but it never once occurred to me in that movie that there was going to be any romantic
And I'm
And
happy
that's-
for once that there was
That's
no
totally
romance.
fine. I think it's completely okay for there to be stories without romance, because individual lives, we all have stories of romance and stories without.
Yeah.
So it doesn't
So-
need it.
I think we've split It's Mother Uckers on this particular podcast. So she does not agree with Ryan and I about the little coconut guys, but she does disagree with Ray on the whole rock.
And let's be serious,
Like-
she is a Disney fan.
So-
For the record, the first thing I said was I wanted her to become a demigod as well.
Yeah,
I thought that would
I
have
don't
been
think that's
cool
ne-
if
it
she
would've
was
been
a
cool.
demigod of the sea.
But
I would not have
unnecessary.
complained. Right? If they had done that, that's fine. I liked that she had to then go back and lead her people as a human.
And I think
like
that's
that.
good.
Because that shows that the whole time, throughout the whole movie, she's the only non-super powered creature through all of this.
Yes.
You know, she is just a person. And in this case, she's just a kid.
I mean, she does have like the power of the ocean to save her every time.
giving her a hand when it's
Plot device.
convenient. When it's
Yeah.
convenient, they give her a hand. But she doesn't have a weapon from the gods. She's not a gigantic crab. She doesn't shoot lava. She's just a person.
Look, Disney rules. They made Megara a god for like 5 seconds just because Hercules had a crush on her. So I just thought it would have been a cool ending if she also got that treatment. The romance was not even secondary to that. It was tertiary. So I still
see at that point it's not even needed.
Right.
Like you
I
and just
don't
like in this
think
movie,
it's
they don't need
needed
it
for this. Just like I didn't think it was needed for Brave. I thought it was fine to go without that.
So I can't say anything about that.
I absolutely
What wasn't needed in Brave?
a romance.
Any sorry.
romance.
I thought we were talking about the demigod thing. I'm like, when did she become?
She's the demigod of archery. I don't know.
Well, her mom does turn into a bear, so there's weird stuff going on in that movie.
There
That's
is.
news to me.
There's always magic in a Disney princess film.
Okay, so one thing we haven't talked about at all that I feel like is important when you're talking about a Disney princess film is what song is the Let It Go of this movie for you guys?
There wasn't one for me.
The issue with it is she sings 3 different times, but she essentially sings the same song 3 different times. It just had 3 different, variations. So it's the water song that is her, freeing moment and her moment of clarity and her moment of solace. But there isn't that catchy song from her. I would say that the catchiest song is You're Welcome.
Totally agree. I was going to say that there's no princess songs in this movie that stood out to me. You're Welcome I thought it was phenomenal. Like I could listen to that outside of the movie and not feel really weird about it.
That song reminded me of Robin Williams' songs.
Absolutely. Got the same vibe, yeah. That's a big thing for me.
Just like Friend Like Me.
No, I loved all the music, but I think that part of the reason it wasn't quite as Disney-ish is because they were trying to be really authentic about the music. And it's not, that music wasn't created to be catchy and to be marketing material. It was
actually Broadway music, because in Broadway numbers, the music all connects. There's not a disconnect between songs. Disney, there's a disconnect. There's, song between the couples, song from the villain, song from side character, group song, everybody together.
Aladdin is a good example of that.
It is. However, this one is one song that it calls me all throughout the whole thing. It connects, and that is a very Broadway thing. And Lin-Manuel Miranda is a very Broadway man. So he brought in a new twist to the music, and maybe it won't pop up on your Disney playlist anytime soon, but
I think You're Welcome will.
Yeah, that one and the I'm Shiny song.
The main song was a close second for me.
Yeah, they're going to pop in there.
Yeah.
But it's because there aren't any other themes to them. They don't connect later on.
I also think it's interesting that those two are both, well, Jermaine is an actual artist of music. Right?
Yes.
Like he actually is in a part of a group, and The Rock has been singing his whole life in some capacity. So, I mean, and they're more popular because of that. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
It might. I think a lot of it does have to do with the fact that throughout the majority of the film, there's a minimal number of characters.
Yes.
You really have, Moana and Maui through most of the movie, and there's a couple of characters that pop in every now and then. But it's not like your average Disney movie where you have a larger cast of characters that have their own story threads going around, right? Like you look at Beauty and the Beast, and you have basically 3 main characters that have their own songs because they're doing different things.
At different times.
Right? It's basically 3 different stories that all come together at one point.
Beast only sings once. He only has one line that he sings, which is sad because that actor had a really good voice.
But Gaston's song obviously stole the show in that whole movie, so.
The music in that.
It was all great. It really
was the first Disney movie to ever get nominated for Best Picture.
I do think that the music has kind of gone downhill, in my opinion, in Disney movies, if this movie is representative of Disney. Because I feel like all the movies, and maybe it's my nostalgia glasses, but all the movies from Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast,
Little Mermaid.
Yeah. I could still sing a lot of those songs,
sure.
Yeah.
But this song, I mean, I remember parts of You're Welcome, but that's about it. I mean, really...
But let's be a little fair, though. We've only seen it once. I've seen Aladdin and the Beauty and the Beast, I mean,
that's true.
Dozens of times.
But I don't have the desire to see this movie. That's the difference.
That's fair. I think that's fair. I'd like to see it again, to be honest, because I really did enjoy it quite a bit.
Yes.
So
we're going to own it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a great movie, and if this is indicative of a turn for Disney, if they're going to change things up, go back to story is more important than franchise, I'm good with it. If the song format is going to change too, I'm on board. I love Broadway musicals. It's not a big deal for me.
Even Mulan had better music than this, and I like.
Well, so now this is something I don't know if I mentioned before the podcast or not, but I've actually never seen Mulan.
That's probably my favorite. It's definitely one of my.
I'll Make a
Disney
Man
movies.
Out of You is
so classic.
The best Disney song ever written.
It's definitely up there. Like maybe not the best.
Not arguing. I haven't had an opportunity to see that one. So it slipped through the cracks. I haven't seen Hercules.
It's a beautiful song. So. It really is, and it's definitely up there.
You can pass on Hercules.
That's what I had heard.
The muses are really funny. They're hilarious, but having to listen to Danny DeVito sing
was painful.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah. All right, so we're running close on time. Final thoughts and a letter grade. Ryan.
I'm trying to be fair because I just don't really like Disney movies that much. But I mean, as far as actual movie quality, I think it's like a B+. It was a well-made movie and it was good. And I don't really have any complaints about the plot or anything like that. My complaints are mostly complaints that I personally had with it. So, I think B+ is a fair place for me.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I am going to go with B+ too. And it's because I absolutely enjoy the female empowerment, the beauty of it all, the fairy tale aspects. But truth be told, I miss a genuine fairy tale, not one that has been, skewed to make the audience guess. But I like romance and love interest in my movies, and maybe that's why I'm seeing it out of nowhere, because I enjoy
They've had
it.
less of that recently in films. I mean, Zootopia is the same way. There's not a romance between those two main characters. They're supposed to be partners.
Right.
As successful as that movie was, it doesn't have that romance factor either.
I just really enjoy it personally in my fairy tales. But
no, I think it's a fair point, though, because if you look at this year's big animated features, which I know we have around here somewhere, Finding Dory doesn't have that either.
No.
There's
you kind of get the feeling that Dory is the adoptive mom of Nemo now.
But it's not romantic.
It doesn't come off of that. It comes off as like two friends raising a kid.
But it's like, it's a family bond.
Yeah.
It's about that, caring for each other thing,
right.
But it's not romantic.
Right.
So I mean, it's a fair point. We've moved away from that right now, and maybe Pixar might have a lot to do with that, because Pixar doesn't focus on romance much in their movies.
They don't.
They've done it a little bit,
just with like Jessie and Buzz and the Ellie and Carl.
Well, and Woody and Bo Peep.
They sold her
for like 5 minutes.
I think if you're wanting to see a fairy tale movie, you need to go see Wonder Woman next year. It's going to have all the plot devices of a fairy tale movie in a
she
superhero
even
format.
Gets a really pretty ball gown too.
Absolutely,
so
she gets a ball gown.
You know
she
how
gets
I feel about ball gowns.
A man that is not, he's weaker than her and not as like prominent of a character, and he's attractive. And she's a warrior and literally a princess. I mean.
Oh, she's talking about Nick and Judy from Zootopia.
People ship those characters?
Oh, so much.
Really?
So much shipping. Yeah.
I never got
Don't
that.
look for that on the internet, though, because you're going to run into some stuff you don't want to see.
Furry porn?
At the lowest level,
Okay.
The worst level.
Live and hand-drawn.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, I didn't get that from those characters at all. And maybe it's because I like seeing male and female characters working together as a team without sexual tension.
I agree with you totally on that.
I think it's completely possible. I feel like there's room in the Disney Princess franchise by themselves to have women whose stories don't necessarily lead to a romantic happy end. So
yeah, I like the message that you don't have to have a significant other to have a happy ending.
Yeah.
It's kind of empowerment.
Or to reach your goals. Moana gets what she is striving for. She gets to be the chief that her people need her to be, and the chief she needs to be.
Well, just
without a man.
Right.
Yeah.
I've kind of moved beyond that message because everybody has a romance in their life at some point. The three of us do here. We've had ones other than our current, heartbreaking ones, happy ones. So these characters obviously have some romance in their life from some way, from someone, but that's not the important story. That's not the only story in their life. So,
well, and this is a small chunk of their life,
exactly.
so there's no necessarily reason to bring a romantic interest.
Absolutely.
Brave crosses maybe a week, maybe.
Yeah, and Zootopia is maybe a couple of weeks. I'm trying to remember the timeline in Zootopia, but it's not very long. This might have been a few months. Moana was probably a few months given like its ocean travel on a kayak.
Yeah, and her learning to be a navigator or whatever. Yeah,
so that might have been a few months, but anyway, so for me, interestingly enough, 2 movies in a row, I'm going to give it a B+ as well.
All three of us agree for different reasons. Crazy.
Yeah, I really liked it quite a bit. I thought it was really a lot of fun. It was, as far as Disney goes, really enjoyable for me because it wasn't really like a stereotypical Disney princess movie, and I think I like that. And I think that's why like Aladdin's my favorite, because Aladdin's a little different than a lot of the Disney princess films as well. So all 3 of us gave it a B+. Yeah. So it's good. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
If you like that kind of movie.
Well, it's still worth checking out. It's a good kids movie.
If you like The Rock or you like Disney movies, I think it's good to check out. Otherwise, check it out
or
on
if you
Netflix.
like Jermaine Clement, or if you like
but he's only in it for like
Miranda.
a minute and a half.
No, that scene is about 10, 15
Still,
minutes.
it's not very long in the context of the movie.
All right, so that's going to be it for us. Don't forget to join us on Thursday, December 1st.
Yep, you got that date right.
Making sure, for our special episode covering the CW DC crossover, Supergirl, Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. We'll be doing that live here on Twitch at twitch.tv/heroespodcast directly after Legends of Tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central. We will all be here for that. And then please join us on Tuesday, December 6th at 8 p.m. Central here on Twitch for our first annual Screen Heroes Awards 50th episode celebration.
If you haven't voted, there's still time to get your name in there and put your entries in. You can go to our website, still at Grid Daily.
No, it is not.
It is not at griddaily.com?
It's not. You can still go there. You can still hit that up. It'll take you to the right place because I know magic. But go to heroespodcasts.com.
Forwarding is not magic, Derek.
It's not exactly forwarding the way I have it set up. It's not that simple.
Way to make it sound more complicated.
It is more complicated. No, it's not. Right now it is.
Hey,
eventually,
the listeners don't care. We don't need to argue about
it.
Guys.
Go to heroespodcasts.com and you can check out the article there about the Screen Hero Awards with all of the nominees. You can see all the categories, all 17. You can vote in the comments. You can hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr at Heroes Podcasts, as well as Twitch. And take it away, Ryan.
And our Patreon. If you listen to this podcast, you know that we push, well, Derek and Rachel don't push it as much because they don't like to ask for money for good reason. But I will bring myself down to a level to where I will beg you with a cup in my hand while my hands are shaking to give me money. Well, not me specifically.
We haven't given him porridge in so long.
Yes, porridge is okay too, but I prefer your cash monies for our needs. Our needs are very expensive.
Get on with it.
Anyway, so if you don't know, Thanksgiving was last week, right? If you're not American, then you might not be super familiar with the holiday, but we like to give thanks for things around that holiday. I'm sure you have a similar one wherever you're from. But so in the spirit of that, I thought I would make a short list of things that your Screen Heroes hosts are thankful for. Mm-hmm. Number 1, cat videos. Fun fact, Derek spends 70% of his working day watching cat videos. 2, autosave.
That is not true.
Autosave is our number 2 that we're big fans of.
I do love autosave.
Derek especially on that one again. Yeah. Onesies. Onesies are
so
a big
many
thing.
onesies,
Rachel
guys.
has a onesie collection. You can send your onesie donations to the P.O. Box for the Super Sirens. We're thankful for our live watchers. There weren't many chatting tonight, but we know you were there, and we appreciate you. Funko Pops, because we are whores for we have toys, and we always have them everywhere.
We do have lots of pops.
Toilet paper. Because our lives would be much worse without toilet paper.
Yes.
I don't know. What if we had the shells from Demolition Man?
That would be okay, or bidets. I think they serve a similar purpose. Maybe not. I don't know. I've
Without
never used
any
one.
of those three.
You don't know how to use the shells?
No, I know how to use the shells, but the bidet, I mean, I know you press a button and water squirts in places that it shouldn't, but beyond that. Opposable thumbs, because we like to do that.
Thumb wars.
And sometimes that. Aglets. We are thankful for aglets.
I
Which are the
love
little plastic
aglets.
pieces. If you don't know, little plastic pieces on the end of your shoelaces.
Yeah.
They are very important to life. Rachel's Green Lantern knowledge. We're thankful for that because she sometimes likes to educate the other hosts, so that's good. We're thankful for you, whoever you are listening to this.
Right now.
Right now, whether you're listening or watching or whatever.
I love you.
Last but not least, our Patreon subscribers are we're most thankful for of all the things on that list, even more than toilet paper, because you can give us money that we could use for toilet paper in an emergency, but we probably won't. So
No, we won't.
I mean, probably not. If it's
all
an emergency situation, I can't promise anything.
It's all digital, so the amount of time it would take.
I mean, I
to
might be able to take some out of Derek's wallet. That might be, but I mean, in any case, I don't want to argue about it. It's very important, and we appreciate you. So if you gave us money, we're very thankful for you. So thank you.
So yeah, thank you guys. I want to give a special thanks to our top 2 Patreon patrons, Patreon patrons, and that would be Jordan, who has been a long-time patron of us. So thank you, Jordan. He was on our podcast a couple weeks back.
Yes.
When we did our...
He's bought his way on through all the time he supported us.
He did. And then our new patron, Doc Rev, who's usually joining us for chats. We appreciate that. Thank you guys very much. If you don't have any money to spare, that's cool too. Just share the link around. It's patreon.com/heroespodcasts. That's it for us. We will catch you guys in just 2 days. heroespodcasts.com. Go check it out. We'll catch you all next